Essence House Aftershow. Yeah.
Woo! Welcome to the Essence House Aftershow. We're talking about episode 7 today, which is called No Pressure. In this episode, Tim takes a dangerous gamble to get some answers. So tonight, joining me as always are the creators of Essence House, Eric Cockrell.
Hey.
And Chuck Pinot.
What's going on?
So chapter 7 was nuts.
It was, but before we get into that, do you mind if I kind of step up and talk about something?
You know what? I think that's a great idea.
Okay. So, Essence House, I've had such a blast doing this. And, the thing is that myself and Jess, this is something that we've been able to be brought on to and really enjoy and kind of play in this really cool sandbox and whatnot. But at the end of the day, Eric is the one who brought the idea. Eric's the one who kind of, no, you can do that all you want. Eric's the one who kind of brought this all up. And since tomorrow's his birthday, we just wanted to wish him a happy birthday in style. So, where the fuck am I? Here we go. We got balloons.
What?
Happy birthday! Wait, happy birthday!
Happy birthday, buddy. I got this one says baby boy.
Yep, because you're his baby boy.
Aww.
And this one says happy Ramadan.
Yay!
You know me so well.
I know, right?
Thanks, guys.
But seriously, we love you. We're so glad that you brought us on this journey, which has been already so friggin' cool and just tons of fun. And so we just, especially with distance and everything going on in the world right now, we just wanted to give you some love and say happy birthday and make it special.
Well, thanks. I love you guys.
We love you too.
Now she got a beer to the
I
table.
blew them all up today.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I'll be right back.
You have a balloon? Eric's like, I've got balloons too.
No, I think he's getting a beer.
If he comes back with balloons, I'll be amazed.
Oh, that would be pretty awesome. Or a cake.
He's like, I have a cake here.
Got my beer.
Yeah. Oh, you got a Canadian beer.
Which also has its own moment in our episode tonight.
Oh, maybe we should we segue later? Or should we segue now?
I can segue to Molson Canadian all day long.
You are not the only one. If they were a sponsor, I would be the happiest dude alive.
Hashtag. What is it? It's called Canadian what?
Molson Canadian.
Molson Canadian.
Molson Canadian.
That's the shit.
I don't drink beer, so I don't know what good beer is.
It's good stuff, man. It definitely is. I grew up on that stuff. So, but episode 7.
Wait, so is that how the beer got into episode 7?
Chuck wrote in Molson Canadian early on.
Yeah.
And
I wrote Canadian beer in early on. And actually, if you notice, I called it a Canadian beer. I've never said the type. So I love that his head goes to Canadian because mine actually goes to Moosehead.
Yes.
That's my favorite beer. So I kind of left it open. You can pick your own premium Canadian beer and have some fun with it in your own head. But yeah, man, we had that in like what, episode 2?
It had to have been episode 2. It was like really early on.
Yeah. And so then, of course, when Barnabas had to hand out somebody's favorite drink, well, it was obvious to me what it had to be.
So should we do a little summary and go through the story?
Yeah, okay. I'll do this one if you want. Birthday boy's drinking.
Yep. Sip my red.
So we begin with Tim and Tristan on their way back to Sands Point, New York. Tim has a crazy idea. Tristan, obviously and intelligently, is against it. Tim decides to do it anyway, pulls over the car, runs into the back, pulls out the walking stick, and he ends up back in 1995. Turns out that, well, and the reason, of course, is that he wants to know answers, and he feels like Barnabas is still going to give him the runaround wrongly, and so he goes back and ends up. It turns out that he is kind of his own reason for everything being all messed up, and yeah, so he barely makes it back to Sands Point alive and well, thanks to some help. And when he appears, Barnabas is right beside him. They go back to Barnabas's place, and Barnabas proceeds to give him an awful lot of answers.
So I have to say, like, I was so excited to get all these Barnabas answers. I mean, like, to find out what we find out from Barnabas is just like everything is weaved in through the story beautifully to where it pops up and you're like, yeah. Oh, I know. I had questions for later too, but right now, yeah, I just saw them. I was like, and we find out that basically, I can say like Barnabas is working for Grandpa this whole time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we find out something about Tim.
Yeah, I mean, everyone here, if they're watching this, spoiler alert, you've watched or you've listened to episode 7, so you can say whatever you want here, hon.
Yeah.
This is a spoiler-centric zone.
I guess it's already spoiler. So we find out that Tim basically he's now like in charge of the Essence.
Yeah, basically.
And that Barnabas this whole time, I mean, I guess since Barnabas has kind of been like the, I don't know what the steward, I guess, for the Essence House, I guess would be the correct kind of way to say it.
That's a neat way of putting it.
And
who would you say, Eric?
Yeah, how would you say his involvement is kind of?
It's like he's got basically a list of orders that he's playing out. So he's not like really making any calls or anything like that. He's just kind of going down the line and doing the things that he's been told to do for decades.
Yeah.
So, I mean, steward's probably about the closest word I could think of.
Yeah. Like a major domo or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like in the episode, I love the scene where he takes the walking stick and goes and leaves Tristan, and he appears there in the alley, and he appears there out in the street, and the little girl hits him with the bike and swerves out into like that whole thing was awesome.
That is where I clapped, I laughed, I was like, oh my god!
So that wasn't planned. And I'm so happy with that scene because it speaks to what I was saying earlier when I was talking about Eric's birthday, and that is that Eric has allowed me to kind of play in his sandbox in a lot of ways. Now, obviously, he and I have created this together, but he tends to throw stuff up in the air, and I'm like, cool, let's do something with that. Like even like at the time I was like, so what, in episode 4, I'm like, what was all this stuff? And he's like, I don't know. We need to open up doors and we'll find cool ways to close them. And so when it came to writing episode 7, I was like, I'm going to close a bunch of doors. And episode 4 for me, that was the point that I wanted to close a bunch of those. And so that's really what I did is like episode 4, we get it now. Like we understand that. And that was what I wanted to tackle and play with. And I couldn't have done that if he didn't do things the way that he does. And I love it. So, as much as it's nice to hear like, oh, dude, what you did is awesome, I couldn't have done it if the door wasn't open. So, yeah, man.
And for the record, there's some of that, but most of what me and Chuck do is planned.
Yes, obviously.
We throw those moments in, but
well, those are smaller things that we then, and we've done it a couple times where we're just like, let's leave this open, we'll play with it later. The thing is, and I find kind of instinctually, we just jumped to it. We didn't sort of pick things out, but Eric seems to loves opening that stuff, whereas I prefer to web everything together. And so we've just kind of found that pattern between the two of us. And so we're kind of taking advantage of it and having fun.
Yeah, it's fun to create problems for Chuck to fix.
And I love surprising him.
Eric's like, I'm going to get Chuck.
What's he going to do with this?
Enjoy this one, you son of a bitch.
Happy freaking birthday, buddy. Yeah, no, that was, oh man, that whole thing was tons of fun. Because even as I was writing it, I didn't know 100% where I was going to go. And it all kind of, I could feel it coalesce as it all kind of came together. And I was like, oh, okay, that's why. And this is why and all that. And then, but the stuff with Barnabas, we knew that Barnabas was going to come into play in that episode. That was something that we were going to do and that we were going to play with that. I got to add a couple extra things. I got to add the envelope, which was my little door that I threw out there and stuff like that. So yeah, man, this one was a lot of fun. And it's funny because as much as I wrote it, Eric wrote it too, because I couldn't have done it if that stuff wasn't out there.
It was a fun episode, and I like, because I think it built a lot of some of the lore. It gave us more lore with what Grandpa had set up with Barnabas, and now that what is it, the
Essence Guard?
Yes, the Essence Guard.
And that stuff from day one, like that stuff with Barnabas and all that stuff, that's day one stuff right there.
Yeah, the Essence Guard was the EGB was Essence Guard Barnabas in the first episode.
Yeah, so. In that the little text to the woman in the shop.
You know what's fun about the last two episodes for me, especially thinking about it this week when I'm trapped at home, is that drive from New York to Chicago and back. Like I did that in the opposite direction this week last year.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
As I'm putting together like the audio and stuff for it, I'm thinking about like that trip.
Oh my God. That was a year ago when you even stopped by the
the Amityville house and everything.
That's right.
That was a year ago tomorrow.
So you actually did that on your birthday. You went to the Amityville house.
Yeah. And I went out to the Pinewood or the
Pine Barrens.
Pine Barrens, where the Jersey Devil is supposedly at a year ago today.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that was a fun trip. And I saw my favorite band, Jawbreaker, a year ago tonight.
So you had a great birthday last year.
Well, glad you got it last year, because this year is not going to add up.
I don't think you're going anywhere right now.
You got balloons.
And thank God you can stream Amityville.
Canadian beer is still around.
Canadian.
Hey, there you go.
You can go on virtual museum walkthroughs online. There you go.
Oh, that's cool. There you go.
But yeah, having taken that trip recently was kind of cool.
Well, and in this one of the things that I love doing, how Eric plays with me, I play with him. So I've been finding ways to put very weird sounds in the and really like kind of screw with him and really force him to have to like, oh, how am I even going to do this? So that horn blast from the truck, that's literally just there as a screw you, Eric, have fun. Good luck. And, dude, it was so good. Like I know it's just an air horn, but it's not that. It made the scene so tense. And I felt like I was in the car and it was swerving across lanes. He really like nailed that. It was insane.
Yeah, it made for a nice transition to like the next section.
Because I could say I witnessed this section of the story read via Chuck without the sound effects.
Oh yeah.
And then I experienced it today with the sound effects. So that scene's a little different when you have a sound effect.
Yeah, it's much more chaotic. He really got this really good feel of like we're jumping lanes and the truck and everything like it.
Something on that section too that I hadn't done before was I kept all of the sound effects really loud throughout that whole section. Like I usually keep them. I usually play with the sound levels until they're noticeable, but they're not imposing. But on that one, it like just felt right to just pump it up a bit, as long as you could hear the words.
I think it worked really well doing that. See, and then you get to do all these little like technical things with the audio and stuff that add so much more to the story.
Even the time travel noise when they're in that argument and they're like he's running out of the car to go over to the trunk and the time travel noise starts happening as Tristan runs after him and it's going and going and you're like, what, like the whole time, what's going on? Like it was just all of that was so well done and it really added to the chaos of what was going on. All of that was just really cool. It really shows you how much of a difference good sound engineering does and what it can do for the story. So like you said, I read it and it doesn't have quite the same feel as when that sound was there.
It was fun too, pulling back some sound effects from episode 4 when he's there. I have the little girl crying and I was able to pull all those little noises in there.
Was it the same girl?
Yeah, I pulled this. I went to the sound file for that whole episode, and I had to rearrange them and use them a little differently. And he had some inner dialogue or something going on for a while, so I had to keep repeating her crying and stuff a little bit longer, but a little bit more toned down. That was cool.
It was funny because as I wrote it, I had episode 4 and I kept having to play parts. Where are they now? Like I had to think, okay, so where's Tim? And now where's Tim and Tristan? And so, like when he looks down the alley and he sees them walk away, and then I took a line directly from from chapter 4, and then him watching and seeing them at the newspaper stand, like all that kind of stuff. I really had to go back and see everything that I had done in 4 and really kind of try to mesh it seamlessly. So in this one, I feel like this one, probably more than any of them in recent memory, was really a team affair where we really kind of had to, I had to play with what you had given, then you were playing with what I'd given. And it really, I'm really proud of this one because of that, because this really shows what you and I can do together when everything's working seamlessly.
Yep. It was awesome.
Yeah, I have to say it was a lot of fun to listen to the because I always find it funny in time travel movies where you show up and then the other version of you is there. So I thought it was a lot of fun to listen to, and I assume I hear Chuck's process that it was you got to pay attention to details in order to make it work.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
You good there, Chuck?
I didn't know a question was incoming. But yeah, no, totally. One of my favorite things to do now is you had mentioned at one point that you really enjoyed the us talking about other mediums and including them. So now anytime I'm writing, I try to see like what can I add of the real world to put this in here. And I'm finding myself doing it almost every time, like working on 8, and I was like, what can I add? And I actually started with something from the real world right away, just to play with and really kind of ground us. And I think that's that's something fun that we get to do because this is an adventure and it is very, kind of out there. But by bringing that stuff in, it kind of reminds us, no, like this could happen,
Yeah, I always loved. I've always been into like shows with really cool like mythologies and stuff. Like my sister used to watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I started getting into that one, and just all kinds of shows like that. But like the real world stuff that happens in it, like it just kind of makes you like feel like this happened, or like this could be happening somewhere. Like,
yeah.
Like there's a reference, I think, in this last episode to 12 Monkeys, and I was like, wow, that's such a 90s ass freaking movie.
Well, and I haven't seen that since like a couple years after it came out.
It's been a while for me.
So I had to go back and I'm like, is this what I remember it being? And so I had to look and they're like, oh yeah, okay, all right, cool. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. That's when as I read it, I was like, I read the descriptions and stuff. I'm like, man, I have to rewatch that because I was young I was like, I think I was like 17 when I watched it or something a couple years later.
Because I know I was obsessed with Brad Pitt at this point. Cut that out, Eric.
Nope.
Why? I'm still obsessed with him.
Everybody's obsessed with Brad Pitt at that point.
I know. So I would watch everything. So I was like, even though he's not good looking in this film, I'm going to watch it again. So I watched 12 Monkeys a handful of times in the theater.
Yeah. Even when he's not good looking, he's good looking. You know what I mean? Like dude, he's and when he's not good looking, he's a really good actor.
He is.
Like he's just, yeah, man. Like there's some roles where it's like, yeah, okay, he's not looking too attractive here, but he's just doing awesome stuff. Yeah, I mean, still 20 years later, we're talking about his work.
Yeah, right. Like it came out in 95.
Yeah.
Wow. That's the year that they traveled to in our story.
Perfect. Did you think of 12 Monkeys? Like, were you looking for a movie that would fit, or did you think of 12 Monkeys and then you wrote it in? Like, how did?
When I think of someone meeting themselves in time medium, it's 12 Monkeys. Like that's the first one I go to because it was that like that ending was so huge and so ingrained in my mind. So that's just where my brain automatically went.
Shoot. Now I want to watch 12 Monkeys. Thanks. Man, I'm going to close the window because I'm looking at 12 Monkeys things now.
For the so we had a theory given to us in episode 4 for the little girl on the bike.
Yes.
You want to read that one?
Do we have it here?
Oh.
I know it's in here. Hold on. We are reading it in 2 seconds.
I would have had it ready, but I had to move computers.
I know, and then I think it was in the chat, and then it scrolled down. So we had a comment from Wendy from episode 4, and she said, "I think the invisible man that pushed the girl on the bike was giving the Edmonds a warning."
So, how do you feel about that theory there, Wendy? Yeah. You haven't listened to episode 7? Oh crap! So are we spoiling the? We're like spoiling the junk out of her right now.
Oh my God, Wendy! I'm so sorry.
I didn't realize it.
I didn't realize
This is how we're treating essential workers. Come on.
Well, we're definitely gonna have to sit by and listen to it tonight.
Yeah.
I swore I had read it to her, or she listened to it, or something.
I think when you read it last time, when you read it to me, she came home, I think, just as you were finishing.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Well, your theory was not great. No offense. It was a good theory. Sorry, it was a good theory, but it did not pan out.
Now I feel like we can't. Yeah, I feel like we shouldn't talk about that anymore.
No. She's actually about to. We're good. We're good.
Okay. But are you sure? Can I?
Yeah, we're good.
But when when we found out who it was and how it happened, it cracked me up. It really did.
Yeah,
I
no,
have
sorry. Go ahead.
So like when I wrote that part, like I don't really write stuff and leave them completely up in the air. Like I had thoughts as to who that might be and what that was, but I didn't really ever like put them out there because I didn't think we would probably get to it for a little bit anyways. And then Chuck wrote it in without talking to me about it.
He's
and I
like,
loved it.
I'm gonna close
doing
this
this.
up
I'm
for you
doing
right now.
Yeah, I loved it. So he nailed it.
So in speculation, Eric, who did you? Who were your thoughts?
Yeah.
I'm curious.
I'm afraid that if I said it would potentially lead into conversation about other things to come because I didn't expect it to come up for a while. So
okay, okay. I think I have a
season.
Okay, we'll keep that. I had some fun questions, or I have a fun question.
Yeah.
So, if you guys had to cast Essence House, who would be your ideal cast?
Crap, because we talked about this, didn't we?
I told you I was going to get you with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now I can't remember who I.
No.
Okay, so I remember Barnabas. I envision Christopher Plummer when I think of Barnabas.
What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Do you remember who I said for Tristan?
I do. I want to know if you remember.
Oh, wow.
No, that's what I'm asking. What did he say?
So for Tristan, Eric, this is what Chuck came up with. He came up with Adam Driver.
That's right.
Yes. What do you think, Eric? Do you have a...
Yeah, he's a good one. I honestly haven't thought too much about, not too much on celebrities. So I guess it's not really something that I thought about ever.
Yeah, no, right? You're like, if anything, we're lucky to get B actors. They will be unknown. Who did I say for Tim? Do you remember?
Tim, you had a couple. Tim was the one where Chuck had a couple. He had Chris Pratt, and he also had Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, I think Bradley Cooper was more the one I was.
Yeah, I was gonna say Bradley Cooper I'd see more than Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
And then
take that.
We got the main people.
Yeah, that's kind of in my own and you know what? It was just literally like we were hanging out and I was like, who do you think? And so I started just like kind of imagining because I hadn't really considered it up until that moment either. So even in writing them, I kind of like having a more vague idea of them or a more personal idea. That way anybody else can sort of put their feel on it.
Yeah, we've hardly described anybody.
No. I think we ended up giving Tristan brown hair, and that was about all we did. Maybe gave him an eye color too.
I guess I have envisioned the two of them to be fairly similar looking, like a strong family resemblance.
That makes sense.
Only one would say a little bit younger, maybe a little bit shorter. Tristan being a little bit younger and shorter, maybe.
How about Uncle Rick? Who do you envision?
So Uncle Rick would be like in his late 50s, early 60s.
Who's that guy from the dad in remember that show Valerie back in the day? Or what was there was a sequel to it with like Sandy Duncan or something. When who's that guy? Okay. You guys keep talking. I'm gonna look up.
Okay, I was like, I could look it up, but I don't remember this show.
I think he might have been a soap opera star.
Oh shoot!
You know what? I can imagine he'd have to be a little older now. Well, and he would be a little older now. But the dad from the Wonder Years.
Who Wonder Years dad?
as Rick, kind of a little heavier.
Oh yeah,
Really sort of.
what does your dad look like? I need to look at him.
He's heavier. He's sort of
Picture him.
disgruntled. He never seemed like a happy man. Like even when they were having happy moments, you're like, there's something else going on there behind that facade.
No, now I picture Wonder Year's dad as Uncle Rick.
That works for me.
No, I just thought it would be fun to kind of go through the characters and just like do some fun casting.
I agree.
That's not.
Did we have any more questions, or?
That's what I'm going through, just checking if we have any questions, or because I think all my notes were basically about Essence House Guard. So what I feel about the Essence House Guard is it like it's a secret society, but with very few members.
I think that's a fair statement.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. We haven't even discussed. We know who is a member and who isn't, but we haven't really discussed necessarily the breadth. But we've never. I don't think either of us have ever imagined it being a much bigger than kind of town folk and whatnot.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see where it kind of goes, because like it's like there's like a lot of lore we can get into, and know like, because like for me it's like immediately I'm like, oh well, how long has the Essence House Guard been around? Is this solely in the Edmonds family? Are there different, like, and how like and before prior to that was it Grandpa? Because it wasn't
we reveal in that episode that Grandpa was in charge before, and then we handed over to Tim.
So was there a gap then, or is it with time it doesn't matter? I don't know. Like,
I think it's kind of that it doesn't really matter, but I mean, Grandpa gave all the dates and all the orders to
Barnabas.
Barnabas, thank you. So, like, there wasn't really any need for anybody to be pulling strings at that point.
Yeah. And really, I mean, in a lot of senses, Barnabas kind of was the leader.
yes.
He was like a de facto leader. You know what I mean? It's like, well, no one else is around. Tim's not ready for this. I mean, Roland died before Tim was born. So, yeah, Barnabas had all that information even before Tim was around. So he's been sitting on this. I think we worked it out like for like 50 years.
Can you imagine like sitting on information for 50 years waiting to like it reminded me of the scene, I don't know, in is it Back to the Future, where at the end like he gets the letter from the guy and the guy like, we were wondering if you were going to get the letter, or who
Yeah.
get the letter.
Like, I mean, he did have orders in between, like Barnabas's death and then though, because he knew to show up in 1995 to bring Tim back and all that. So, and who knows what else he could have had some crazy adventures during that time. For all
Barnabas spinoff, where Barnabas goes on adventures. No, it's a lot of fun, and it's like when we first met Barnabas, it was like there's got to be something else. This guy's he's too interesting just to pop up for one episode.
And I think that was something that because I mean, even like the lady, she didn't really have a name, but I think both of us right away were like, Barnabas, we're gonna have some fun with Barnabas.
Yeah.
And actually, when EGB came up, that's when we both knew, okay, cool, yeah, now we know what we're gonna do with him.
Yep.
So back to where the old lady with the text message. So she's aware of the whole situation if she got the text from EGB, right? So she's kind of aware, but then I guess we haven't gone back to her yet.
Not yet, no. But I mean, obviously she's part of it, on some level, because she got this message. She knows what, if she got something that said EGB, then there's a good chance that she knows who that is and why. So, and especially even if you remember the message, I believe it basically said, I don't want to paint myself into a corner, but I believe it basically said, like, it all starts tonight or something like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was funny while I was writing that one, I was like, can you imagine? It has started. That's right. Thank you, baby. I appreciate that. Can you imagine what it would be like to be in your 20s and then 50 years later be in your 70s and be like, okay, now it's happening.
Yeah.
Like, I've been sitting on this the whole time.
And there is no way to hand that off or bring in younger people, because what the hell is it? It's just a file and some envelopes and stuff. Like,
yeah,
it's basically all on them.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to ask you, Jess, since we, obviously there's only so little that we, or so much that we can answer. When Barnabas said, there's not a lot left in the file, what did that say to you?
To me, that immediately meant that at that point, for some reason, Grandpa Roland didn't go any further into the future to be able, because to me, it seems like he went through the future. He was able to collect all these things because he knew what was going to happen with Tim to kind of set it up. And to me, it means, did Grandpa die before he was able to finish, or that was it? And at this point, Tim takes over and there is no information. He has to collect the information. So
yeah, because we even that's a solid theory, and because we haven't even talked about how Grandpa Roland died.
Yeah, you
just don't know. Yeah,
I know he died at some point, but yeah, no, that was kind of where I went immediately. I was like, oh well, it might all be Tim now. That might be the big thing. Like, he doesn't get to know.
Well, we're definitely leading you up to the end of this season, and we have some really cool stuff planned.
Yeah.
We have 3 episodes left?
Yeah.
Oh my God. When this started, the coronavirus was only a thought in China.
Yeah.
It's just nuts. And we're here. Well, I mean, honestly, though, when this started, we were in the depths of winter. And I remember like hearing the first episode and hearing about Tim being cold and it being the first. And I was like, that's because it is right now. It's exactly what's going on. And so now here we are, like at the end of March, episode 7's in the can and out, and episode 8 is going in the can to go out. And it's gone by fast, and it's just like the amazing amount of story that we've gotten over this time.
Yeah, it's gone super fast.
Yeah. It's definitely catching up to us as far as, whoa, like, when we got that first episode out, it was kind of daunting how much more there was ahead of us.
Yeah.
And now it's like, dude, it's all coming up. Like, we always had this big episode 1 or season 1 finish set up, and it's only, what's really neat about it is that as the season has moved on, that has only gotten tighter and more obvious in our heads as to what it looks like. And it's so cool to kind of see that ahead of us.
You know what I love too is that by the end of this season, like going into next season, like there's gonna be most of the mystery that's happened, like we've presented, we'll have wrapped up, and we still have so much more to go. Like for this initial story, I love that.
Yeah. It's just so well done that it just makes me want to know more and want to move on forward with the story. Do you guys find, as you guys have been moving through the process, that it's just kind of getting easier or faster for you?
I don't know about easier, because I think we've had to do more research since, like, as we've gone. We've had to have more touch bases to talk about, like, covering certain things. So
I think
writing itself, it can be faster sometimes, I think, because we have characters' voices and.
Yeah, I think the real thing is that, like, getting your pen on the paper, so to speak, is the hardest part. But once it's on there and you start, it kind of comes together really easily because we've got so much of that stuff going on, and because we have kind of done our research and we know what we want to see in each episode, what we want it to look like. It's just about kind of working out in your head what is, for me, what does this episode look like, and where are we going to end. And there's been some episodes where it's like, yeah, okay, so I'm having a tough time with this because I don't know how the next one starts. Like, I don't know how the next one starts or where we want to end. And so that was something that we kind of had to, like, work through and whatnot. But I think our trust in one another has been something that I've enjoyed a lot, because I have to say a lot of both of what we've kind of thrown out there, especially when it's written, it's kind of like, oh, wow, yeah, I love what you did there, and I think we both have a really good idea of what this story is about, and I think that it's equal parts Eric and Chuck, and it's something that we both recognize it sort of has its own life. And so there's some stories that you can tell in Essence House and some you can't. And we just kind of know that. You just sort of like feel it out and you're like, well, there's no point in talking about this because that's not really what Essence House is about or what we do. And so, yeah, man, it just kind of has come together, and it's been really cool to feel that grow and come together.
And even on the other side, there's a lot of ideas that we come up with aren't great. And we're good at saying, well, there might be something there. Let's hold on to that. And I think that pretty much every time we've done that, we've come up with something way better by the time we've gotten to that point. Like,
absolutely.
There's been some,
I think one of our favorite things is, look, let's pin that one on the wall.
Yeah.
And we'll come back to that.
Mm-hmm. And
most of the time, we don't end up coming back to it. It's like, no. One of us has something way better than that. Like that. Yeah. That was something that may have gotten us there, but that's nothing compared to what we ended up with.
Yeah.
It's just, and I think as it's gone, like, I think, listening to it or being a consumer of the show, it's kind of like just watching you guys work together, and it's just very seamless.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think it does help too that there's a lot of parts of it that maybe more so early on than most recent episodes, but where like it would be handed off and Chuck might finish something I started, and there's a little more cross bleeding between, like, in the writing itself for a long time. More recently, I think we just kind of got it down. I don't know.
Yeah, though, really, with these later episodes, I think there's not as much cross bleeding of the writing because we have we've built that structure, and we know what that episode's going to look like. So it's like, you don't necessarily, like, I didn't feel like I had to jump in and do very much for 6. And it's the same with you and 7, because it's just like, no, they know what, where we're supposed to go and what it's supposed to look like. Let them have fun.
Yeah. I'm having a lot of fun with 9 right now.
Go ahead.
I'm having a lot of fun with number 9 right now. That's going to be, it's going to be a fun departure.
Man.
But also answering a lot of questions, I think.
Dude. No, honestly, I'm writing 8 and I'm enjoying it, but I really am more excited for 9. What is coming up there and what we're playing with there is huge.
Yeah.
I just feel like that was just a big tease for episode 9.
It was.
Yeah, you feel right. You want to talk about number 8 a little bit real quick? Set that up.
That'll be.
I can do that. 8, more Barnabas, more Tim, more Tristan,
Ooh.
and we get to see more about the actual Essence House.
Ooh.
And we get to go a little bit maybe into its past.
I would love that. I'm glad that's what you guys are doing, because I would love to find out more about the past of the Essence House. Because I love to find out the history of things.
Yeah. Well, that's more what 8 is going to be about. 7 kind of set up them learning stuff. 8 is more about that.
Yes. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not looking forward to it ending.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. Episode 10 is mean.
I don't want to hear that.
Like that ending is mean.
Yeah. That's yeah.
I mean, I expect it. I know I expect it, but man, I just feel like it's gonna be like one of those like, how dare you leave us here like this?
Yeah.
And it's gonna be the repercussions of it are gonna be huge.
Yeah. If there's any character that honestly, pretty much every character is affected. In that, yeah. Like, I mean, this isn't like it's the Tim show. No. Episode 10, there's repercussions and they ripple, and everyone will get affected.
So I guess, are we in season 2? Then we will see the repercussions.
Oh yeah, immediately.
Certainly.
Fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, excuse me. It's a curseless show.
Yeah.
Rated.
Yeah, I mean, episode 10 sets up the entirety of season 2. I mean, it really does. Like, when it's done, you're just like, whoa. And that, it's funny. I hadn't considered it, but, Eric and I have both said that we love Lost. And what's funny is that every time a season finale of Lost hit, it really did kind of go, the answer to what happened at the end of that really was the whole idea of what came afterwards. And in that regard, I feel like we've kind of followed that ideal. And so season 2 is going to rip with that.
No.
Gosh. Don't tell me it's ending and I got to wait for season 2 soon.
Well, you still got a month and a half.
Okay.
Right? Like a little over a week or so, and then you'll get to listen to 8. And I believe 8 will give you a better idea of what you might see in 10.
Yep.
Oh man, the teasing on this is horrible. I'm just like, come on, man, give me some story. And that's what I love about Essence House is like you don't have to watch anything. You can like chill and listen to it.
Yeah, and right now it's what everybody needs.
Exactly. And I think, using your imagination, it's just really like taking that a lot more than sitting and staring at a show sometimes,
Yep.
And I enjoy it. So I recommend people to listen to it if they've got nothing to do, like throw it on while you're working.
Yep. Send your friends.
Well, and as we've said before, if you know someone who you think will enjoy it or appreciate it, show it off. You know what I mean? Like suggest it, share it. And actually, I've noticed we've had a fair amount of that. Like I've seen a real uptick of people sharing it and talking about it. And that's been really cool.
Yeah.
Even people that I didn't necessarily expect to. I did a fair amount of marketing and jumping on like podcasts and stuff. And a lot of those people that we talked to, they're still sharing it. They're still talking about it and showing off. And that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's make it viral. Just keep sharing it. I mean, we don't
Are we allowed to use that word?
Oh, I know. Oh, I'm too antiquated. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Great.
Now you have to wear a mask on the internet.
Yeah.
Sorry,
You
guys.
might catch the essence.
Oh.
Um,
All right. Well, you want to lead us out?
well, thank you so much for joining us on Thank you so much for joining us on episode 7 of the Essence House After Show. Keep a lookout for episode 8. It's next week. If you're a Patreon user.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And if not, you're going to have to wait another week and then it's going to be released on other podcast platforms. So thank you so much for joining us.
And tell all your friends that are stuck in the house right now to listen to us, damn it.
Yeah, I would say.
And stay safe. Take care of yourselves, guys.
Yep. Stay safe and stay inside.
Yep. Stay home. Take care.
Peace
Bye.
out.
Bye.